sexual miseducation of black men in America. It explores and explains the psychological, emotional, behavioral, and relational impact that our sexual conditioning has had on us as black men. For far too long, we have allowed one of the smallest organs on our body to have the most control over our lives. In this book, we will explore the impact that our sexual miseducation has had on every part of our lives as black men. We will re-educate the next generation of men on how to value themselves by teaching them real ways of measuring their manhood and combating the notion that their manhood is based on the number of women that they sleep with or how well they perform in the bedroom. The sexual miseducation of black men in America will help parents in our community understand what it will take to grow their prince into the position of king. We will assist black men with overcoming one of the biggest struggles that we are faced with. That is the temptation of casual and meaningless sex. This alone has stopped millions of us from living up to our full potential. The sexual miseducation of black men in America. It's coming.
And mainly the unhealthy sexual habits that we learn, the unhealthy sexual lessons that we learn as black men. A lot of it affects us in so many different ways, psychologically, behaviorally, emotionally.
The act of sex in, 5th or 6th grade in health class, they start to talk to you about what sex is.
I tell her he loved her when he didn't really love her, right? And so what I took from that was, I'm never going to say those words unless I mean it.
End up being with this chick. She might just be a one-nighter and that's it. So we don't get out that stage until we like older. I mean, it's sad, but it's realistic.
It's almost like slowly pushing all the other people out, because at one time we all have multiple chicks here, there, and other way.
He didn't explain nothing or nothing. He just stopped hitting her up on that regard, stopped answering what she requested, and she kind of went off on him. And he was like, "Oh no, I got into a relationship, so I just didn't, it wasn't really appropriate." But she was like, "Well, you could have told me."
All right, here we go. How y'all like that intro?
Sir.
All right, well,
That's third.
He made a cameo.
yes. See now over there dancing a little bit.
You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Can you feel it?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, those that are coming on, those that will join. This is the sexual miseducation of black men in America. My name is A.B. Bracewell. I am the founder, the author, the therapist, the creator of this movement. And tonight we're going to be jumping into a very deep and important conversation pertaining to this topic of the sexual miseducation of black men. I got some of my closest and best brothers with me tonight for us to discuss this topic. And we're going to specifically be talking about sex and success, our sexual miseducation and how it impacts our success in life, when it comes to careers, when it comes to goals, when it comes to relationships, and wherever else the conversation is going to lead to. So we're going to jump right into the conversation. Before we do that, would you good brothers introduce yourselves?
Age before beauty, nah.
Listen, I was already going to tell you.
I'm Maurice Rush, man. You guys have probably seen me. I didn't have any hair last time you probably saw me on the show, so I might look like a new person, but I'm same old Maurice Rush. I was in an intro video at a certain point. I am the founder of My Brother, which is an organization that is centered around healing up black men and men of color, and shining a light on different taboo topics in our community. And I'm an amazing friend of Adama, a brother in Christ, a brother in ministry, and Nari as well, man. Like we all are super tight like this. So I'm really excited about this episode.
Facts. You, what it do? It's your favorite coach's favorite coach. One half of the dynamic duo known as Two Kings 215 podcast, and also the co-host of the Life Be Lifing podcast. Man, as he said, we brothers, we teammates, man. We really like look at each other as family. I appreciate Adam for bringing me on once again to participate in this discussion, man. I'm ready to get to it.
Okay, well, let's get right into it. The first question I have pertaining to sexual miseducation in Black men specifically, what would you say specific to our community, to our race, to our culture that impacts the way we view sex? I know a lot of different cultures, a lot of different races might have different views, but there's some specific stuff that comes with us that makes us view sex differently. What would you say that is?
Off rip, and not to be vulgar, ladies and gentlemen, but as Adam even said in the intro, man, our private part size, man, like that's something that that's used against us, or that's used as if it's some kind of measurement. Like it's not just, every man wants to feel like he has, like he's packing or whatever. But when it comes to Black men, we have to be the most packingest of every man on, on the planet. So it's not just that we got to compare with each other. It's like, Lord forbid there be somebody of another race whose member is bigger than yours. So it's like this psyche, this game that's being played on your psyche, on something that you have absolutely no control over.
No, that's real. No, I ain't even going in that direction. I actually, when I saw the question pre-show, I thought, I feel like we're the only race that doesn't frown upon multiple baby moms. So I feel like I wouldn't say we're as far as celebrating it, but I do know when I talk to people of other races and other ethnicities, and I mention, I have children around multiple women, they're like, oh, you must have been married, right? No. And I feel like when I'm talking to people who look like me, they're the only people who understand it and are just kind of like, oh, well, stuff happens. So I think that multiple children, not multiple children, but multiple women, fathering children with multiple women is something that's specifically that you see more in our race, or at least that it's not as frowned upon in our race as it is in others.
It's more expected, you say?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can't hear you, Adam.
Yeah. You went staticky on us.
All right. I was feedback of what you're saying, Nari. Like that's something I actually write about in a book. Like when it comes to our rankings in so many different things, when it comes to education, when it comes to finances, when it comes to so many different things, we rank pretty low, next to the bottom on those scales. But one thing that we are always at the top is when it comes to our sexual prowess, and we wear that like a badge of honor. We wear it like a badge of honor. So in a book, I definitely speak about how we can value ourselves on other levels, opposed to just how well we perform in the bedroom or how many women we can get. Because if you look at statistics, like on every level, we close to the bottom. There might be one or two cultures or one or two races below us, but we are performing very low in other areas of life. But when it comes to that, we like to be at the top. We like to be at the top.
We're told we're supposed to be. It's I don't want to get too deep, but I very much feel like it's one of the remnants of that slavery impact, that we were used, in that sense. We were used, not just for our labor, but absolutely we were used for our bodies as playthings. And then it's just been put to condition further on, like, hey, that's why you're valuable. That's why you matter.
Yeah, definitely. That was
that was one of the ways they used to when they were selling slaves, they'll measure a man by his penis size, and they figured if his penis was big, that he can impregnate a lot of women, so he was more valuable on the market. And, you know, and even with that, like there was a certain quota put on men, or even I should say boys, because it was once he hit puberty, they put a quota on him, like, hey, you had, I think the number was like you had to pregnate at like 15 women within a year. And if you didn't, you know, there was always some harsh punishment. You could get castrated, or you'd be in the field, or you know, you could get sold or whatever. So yeah, it definitely some very close correlations from what used to happen back then to how we still behaving now. So personally speaking, and I like to always kind of like create a baseline before we get right into the topic. What are some of the influences that you had as far as your sexual education? What were the things that taught you, or who were the people that taught you, and what exactly did you learn when it comes to sex?
I'll take this one out first. So I think that there's, you know, an obvious answer, which is obviously pornography, right? And I think we're all old enough to not have been in the era of cell phone technology, with YouTube and stuff at the point of your hand. So you're talking about like dirty magazines underneath the mattress, or HBO or Cinemax on a late night. Those kind of exposures was probably more the lane in which I initially learned about it, or even just watching a rated R movie, honestly speaking. Like if you look at some of the stuff that was allowed on TV back in the 90s and some of the stuff that's allowed on TVs now, like even in cartoons, like if you watch an old Bugs Bunny show or an old Roadrunner or old thing, like you can see some really lewd acts. Ren and Stimpy, you see some really lewd acts on there that just wouldn't make it on TV today, and it was on like regular stuff. A lot of racial stuff too. So I think obviously, you know, like pornography and TV is a huge influencer, and then I think also hanging around older crowds, right? So you eventually you get to an age when you're probably like 13, 14, 15, and you're just starting to like really be attracted to females, and you're in a conversation with a bunch of 20-something and 30-something year olds. And you're probably not saying anything. You're literally just a fly on the wall listening to themselves, and you're like, oh, okay, other guys do this. Guess I got to try it. Guess I got to do it. Oh, this is what they're celebrating. Okay, cool. I guess I got to do it. So I think other sources, I mean, like older gentlemen, not in like an intentional conversation, like a sit down, I'm going to tell you, just like a, hey, they're all, you know, busting it up in a room and you're listening, or TV media sources have been the two ways that I've learned about it.
I feel you on all that. For me, more than porn, although like you said, we all were exposed to it. For me, it was actually my peers and girls more than guys, even, because, you know, and now that I look back on it, it's probably more twisted than I realized, but it was some girls who was like really trying to get down on certain levels that I wasn't ready for. Like back when I was like 11, 10, and, you know what I mean, there was certain stuff they was trying to get into, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like the girl, but I don't know where she's going with this. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, even to the point of, you know, by the time you're in high school, there's girls who's lost their virginity already. Like, I was one of the later out of my peer group when it came to the guys to lose their virginity. So some dudes was already doing it. You know what I mean? Back freshman year, here I was a sophomore, hadn't lost my virginity yet. And, you know, there's girls that's like, yeah, they like you, but they trying to get, you know what I mean? They trying to do that. So it's kind of like you want to be liked by girls and you don't want them laughing at you. It's one thing if your boys grilling you and cooking you. It's another thing when girls pointing and like, you know, he's scared of the meow meow. Like, you know, so that definitely was an influence to get advanced and to participate a little bit sooner than I was ready for, to be honest.
Yeah. So you brothers, y'all participated in some of the other conversations I had about this, and along with a lot of other dudes that I spoke to. And when I asked them that question about the foundation of their sex education. Like none of them said it was their parents that taught them. None of them said it was a qualified older man that taught them. The majority of them, I would say probably 95% of the guys I've interviewed over like the past year or two, they said it was either porn or some X-rated magazines, something on HBO, the internet, you know, and some even said abuse. You know, some of the introduction to sex was through abuse, through the hand of a predator or something like that. So that just shows you like the foundation of what a lot of us, not all of us, a lot of us are learning when it comes to sex ed. Is this you had feedback or something?
A little echo, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where's that coming from. So my next question was, when it comes to a young man, we jump a little bit more into the topic, the sex and success part of it. When it comes to a young man and him fulfilling his destiny or reaching his goals, how would you say that our sexual miseducation knocks us off that trail or knocks us off that path? How does it impact a young man in that area? And we could talk about when talk about life or career or even relationships. How does our sexual miseducation knock us off that path?
So early on, man, like all you're trying to do is get as many girls and get the proverbial body count up, right? And when all you focus on is getting your body count, and for layman terms, that's just as many women to tell as many stories to your buddy. So I hit that, I had sex with her, I had sex with her. And certain things don't matter when all you focus about is your body count. Like you don't care what she looked like, really. Like you don't really care the damage that she went back in on. All that matters is that at the end of the day, you can sit here and say like, "Oh, I had sex with one more person on this list." So I think early on, most of the young men I've talked to, most of the older men who have told me about their childhood, like they all have that similar thing. Like, man, it was a certain time I was just taking anything. I would do it with anything. I would do it with anybody. So I think younger men are very, very much focused on like their body count, the quantity of women that they're dealing with, not necessarily the quality, not necessarily the hurt that they may be causing to the young lady or to themselves. It's just like another conquest, another conquest, another conquest. Because, and I mean, you have talked about this privately before. No one really tells you about that portion of it, right? Like the damage that you're causing. All it is get as many girls as you can. And then at a certain point, you're like, oh, crap, like this kind of sucks. And in some cases, now I got kids by these people that I didn't really like. And, you know, like now I'm child support out the wazoo or, you know, whatever the case may be. But it's absolutely just about as many women as possible that you can just get into the bedroom early on, in my experience, at least.
For me, like I said, I was corny, right? So it wasn't it wasn't like high body count until maybe a certain point when I kind of found my confidence to hit my groove, and then it just seemed like it was flying at me. But before, and maybe for a little while after, it was more or less like I really, really liked this girl, right? I really, really liked that girl. So I became so obsessed with having sex with her. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? To where, yeah, I'm clearly distracted off of stuff I'm doing. Much less when she finally, you know, when we finally get together and we finally do it. Now I'm trying to do it all the time. I'm trying to do it every day. So whereas I should have been focusing more on this school project, or whereas I could have been, I fell in love with her, but I was playing less hoop because I was spending more time trying to get in this girl draws. You know what I'm saying? I'm spending more time laid up with her. In hopes that I could get something, like, because we all know at some point you're in hopes trying to, you know, get sex from a girl and you're not at that point. So that's time you could be spending focusing on yourself, bettering yourself, doing things in your neighborhood, doing whatever else that's important, but you're spending it because you're in the hopes of having sex, much less, like I said, after you finally get it, now you're hooked. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh man, everything is about that. Don't let her start calling you for it. You know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, you drop everything. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of what I had ran to on my end, where it was like, man, I just really enjoy this girl, and it's like there's other stuff I should have been doing. I got in trouble a few times because I, ran to go, do what we do, and I don't have enough time to get back and do what's important. So definitely that's the kind of thing too, where even if it's not a high body count, you being sprung on sex with this one or two particular girls, it takes you off your path because she's not concerned about your end goal or even, as Adam said, your destiny. She's concerned about you making her feel good. So,
bro, you don't believe how many times I cleared out my evening and got canceled on it. Now I'm sitting there
that's cool.
bored and then wasted a night of babysitting or whatever the case may be because I done worked hard as ever to clear out my evening and got canceled. So I feel that 100% now.
Yeah. I mean, I think we so conditioned to look at sex as part of the way we measure ourselves as a man and value ourselves that it does become a distraction. Like if I could just have some of the money back that I spent on things to get women, or some of the time I wasted trying to chase women, or some of the energy I wasted just chasing women just to have sex, like I'd probably be a rich man right now. But we spend so much of our resources, so much of our time, so much of our energy when, like you said, Nari, we can be putting that stuff towards something a little bit more productive. Like we neglect. I can't even say we neglect our goals. Sometimes we don't even set goals, or the goal is to have as much sex and as many women as possible. So you end up spending money on all the things that attract women. You go out and buy the car, or you go out and spend money on outfits you don't need, or you up in the club every weekend because that's where the women are. If I could have some of that money back, you know how far I'll be in my career, in my life. And then when I compare that to, like, I have a lot of married friends. When I compare like the things that I was doing in my 20s, even early 30s, just chasing women around in my life, compared to a guy that found a good woman and settled down and built with her, and I see how far ahead they are opposed to when I was spending so many years chasing women. Like it's sad. But but I think that's how we're conditioned a lot of the times. That's the lessons we're taught to how to value ourselves as men. So
that's real. I'll tell you in a second. My brother was born from me deciding to stop focusing on women and to focus on what it is that I wanted to do. And listeners might be like, oh, well, like you're only with the woman X amount of times. So you got to factor in how many times you texting her, how many phone conversations, how many times she done made you mad and you been sitting around angry and you can't do nothing else because you mad. So now you got to call one of your homies to vent. How many times you taking her out or whatever things, some of the guys pay for money. I just saw a post the other day and it was like, what's the most amount of money you're willing to give a woman before you have sex with her? And there was some dudes in there like $500. And it's like, bruh, like,
like just give her $500.
It was like, what's the most amount of money you're willing to give to a woman in an attempt to like get her in the bedroom? And it was like the most I saw on the post was like $500. And I'm like, like factoring all of that stuff, you realize how much, like, how often you're distracted. Like I remember, like after going through a breakup at one point, I also just moved into my first apartment, and I remember just sitting there one night like, yo, I really don't got nothing to do. Like, and I was legit single. I wasn't talking to nobody. Like, I wasn't mad. I was legitimately just sitting there in a quiet apartment. Like, I don't have anything to do right now, and I'm not angry at anybody, and I don't got nothing to complain about to my homies. So I guess I'm going to figure out what I want to do in life now. And boom, my brother was birthed from that space. So it's real how much of a distraction that can be.
Yeah. It can even lead you in some bad places, because I don't know about y'all, but in my younger days, I definitely was in some wrong hoods trying to, who I thought was the right female. Like, There's some brothers who didn't get the cat they came for, or got it and never made it back home. Because, everybody makes those jokes about walking up that stair with the flight of guys, that flight of stairs with the guys on it. You know what I'm saying? Or you coming back out and you seeing them guys kind of seeming like they blocking your passageway. Then it's like, damn, the wrong response means you might not make it home. Like, who you out here to see, or those kind of things, because you so enamored with with sex with this girl, or you so busy trying to add her to your body count, like y'all said, you putting yourself in a hazardous situation.
Listen, I know some dudes that did that, but also put themselves in some more in other dangerous type situation, like going out, looking for prostitutes. Going to the strip club, trying to bring them back, or to even go take it further. I know dudes that give a crackhead to $10. Listen, it happens. Yeah. Just because we are so conditioned to go after sex, like put ourselves in some very dangerous situations, like that could cost us our life in more ways than one.
Bro, true story for me. I went on a date with this girl. We had a good time, normal date. And at the end, she was like, I'm not really ready to go home yet. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so she was like, I'll go back to your place. We actually ended up not doing nothing that night. But because she extended the night, like her kid, she was separated from her husband. And she called the husband that she was separated from and was like, can you keep her a little bit longer? Because, I won't be home till later. So fast forward, I drop her off at the end of the night. The husband pulled up next to me, like with their kid in the back seat of the car, and was like, yo, you was with my girl? Like, he wasn't really on the crazy stuff, but that could have easily went left, easily went somewhere else. And I didn't do nothing with this girl. You know what I'm saying? We literally just went out. I had no intentions on doing something. It was her idea to come back to my place. I'm like, whatever. We watched the movie and then I took her home after the movie. But how easily a different scenario somebody did. Either me, either him, either their kid that's in the back seat. All because of what? All because of what? You trying to seal the deal? It's just not worth it. It's literally just not worth it.
Yeah. Now, my next question. If you ain't dating now, you've dated before, so you could answer this question. You got brothers married and in serious relationships. That's good. But if you would talk to a young man that is dating, and he's going after his goals, trying to go after his destiny or whatever it might be, what would you say is the better dating style? Dating multiple women at a time, using that process of elimination, or dating one woman at a time, and if that doesn't work out, then you move on to the next?
I'm always a fan of one at a time. I think that dating requires a certain amount of resources, both financially, mentally, emotionally. And I find it difficult to believe that you can seriously find the correct partner if you are dating others. That's my personal opinion. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be dating someone and kind of texting with someone else here and there, but I wouldn't seriously be trying to spend time with multiple people at once. If I'm seriously looking for a partner, like I said, it takes one, it's expensive because then you taking multiple people out to eat. Two, eventually you're going to lose track of something. You're going to think you were texting one and then be texting the other one, or forget plans or something. Three, just emotionally, man. I feel sometimes people just take their turns. You'll be good with one and the other will be getting on your nerves. And then as soon as you straighten it out with this one starts, and it's just you talk about emotional currency, man. Dating multiple women. I would say the same thing to women with men, dating multiple people at the same time. It expends a bunch of emotional currency that we can use to focus elsewhere, be it our careers, be it our kids, be it our families, be it our personal goals and passions. So I would absolutely be a fan of one person. But I would say this to men, because I think that sometimes we're afraid to hurt feelings. It's okay, young man, to go on a date with somebody a couple of times and then decide hey, this isn't the person with me. Women do it to us all the time. Like, it's completely okay to go on a date with a woman a few times, and then after a couple of dates, you're like, yeah, I don't think this is it. Letting her know that and keeping it pushing, like that's fine. That's okay. So I would absolutely recommend one at a time, but I will also uh, tell you, like, know your worth. Like, know that, like, I mean, you're not selling yourself to someone per se, as much as like you're trying to get to know to see if you guys are compatible. Like, so you're not begging her to do these things. It's like, hey, I'm interested in you. I want to see if you're interested. If you're not, that's cool. If you are, that's cool. Like, physically, I thought she was attractive. That's why I got to this first date. But by date 3 or 4, I don't think our personalities mesh up. That's cool. Let's go our separate ways before anybody gets hurt, right? So that would be my recommendation, one at a time. But just knowing your worth throughout that process.
Knowing your worth is a big deal. I would say I completely understand what bro was saying about, one at a time, because yeah, resources matter, man. Especially now in this day and time where people are judging dates by how much is being spent on the date, or the quote unquote experience of the date, because there's only so many magical free dates you can really whip up, if you're being honest. So trying to do that with every woman, I think I'm I haven't been in the game for so long, but I'm kind of like more or less the focus of your dating, I think, would be more important to me. Like, if you are somebody who's, going to conquer and going to do what you do as far as your goals, and you're on your road, you're on your path, you're following your purpose, but you just want some companionship and entertainment, then go ahead with multiple women, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're ready to try to find your queen, so to speak, then one at a time, like bro said, because you need to save your energy, your resources, your headspace. You know what I'm saying? And doing that with multiple women, you're now making it a juggling act. Somebody's going to get shorted. And in shorting the wrong person, you could miss out on the person you actually really want and or feel like you need. So I think it's really your purpose in dating, because people who have dating are really confused, how that's supposed to go. We know how that is. So it's your purpose in dating. If you're dating to have fun, then please go ahead, multiple people, have your, in your Google Calendar or whatever, this girl that week, this girl that week, whoever has whatever quality you need at the time, and have fun with it. But if you're chasing down that woman that you would like to settle down with, you gotta go to one at a time route, man. It's just the most sense to do it that way.
I always say stay in your lane. Now we talked about this offline before. Stay in your lane, man. There's a lane for everybody in 2023. Yeah? If you want to settle down, find people that want to settle down. If you want to play the field, find women that want to play the field. If you want to be poly, find women that want to be poly. You want to be gay, find somebody else that's gay. I think where we mess up at is like you always try to pull somebody right. Like, if you want to mess around with a bunch of women and you know this chick is looking for a husband, leave her alone, bro. Like, leave her alone. Like, that's not your lane. Like, there's somebody in your lane who's also fine with playing the field. Find that person. So that goes back to the know your worth thing that you were saying. Like, just know your lane, stick in it, and be happy and be confident in the decision that you make. Like, bro, you ain't got to impress nobody.
Exactly.
Like, not impress nobody but yourself. Be confident in your decisions and walk in it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's your intentions are so important. What's your whole intent with this dating thing? Like Nari was saying, if you're seriously looking for someone to settle down with and be married to, I would say, dating one at a time is the way to go. For me, like, it has to do a lot with that emotional currency you was talking about. Like, to deal with so many different personalities, to possibly get someone all invested into me, and then I'm not invested into them. It's just too much going on. If it's too many people you're doing it with, and you're spreading yourself thin. So I've always been a fan of, listen, I'll date one person. If it doesn't work out, move on to the next. Hopefully, there's no hard feelings. But if you're
dating multiple people at a time, then that's when feelings really get involved and people feel like they're being lied to or being played or you're not serious. But listen, I agree with both of y'all said. There's a lane for everybody, and your intentions are important. I think what's most important is just to be honest, and be fair. Be honest and be fair. So my next question, I would like to know personally. You said, we've all been through this sexual miseducation system, and we've learned different things. We picked up some negative and some toxic beliefs and habits along the way. What would you say was your turning point in life to make you start to view relationships, sex, women, and even yourself differently? What was that turning point?
I'll get mine out the way because I'm gonna get a little personal. Peel back the curtain for y'all a little bit. Me personally,
hey, you married, guys. Remember that before
you. Yeah, no, listen. This is about me and not a reflection on her or anything. Mm-hmm. Because I've been with her for a very long time. I've been with my wife longer than we've been married. But one of the things that made me start to look at relationships, very much relationships differently and myself differently, is being at a certain point where I was faced with my level of entitlement. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us don't understand the way relationships are really supposed to work, even though we get in them, even though we be in them for like damn near a decade or, a handful of years. We still don't understand exactly how they're supposed to function to make them healthy. We just be going along with the flow. That person stays with us and we stay with them. And it wasn't until, I took a look at some of the things that I was thinking about and matching it against my biological father and how he moved with women that I saw one too many similarities for my liking. And that's kind of what made a turning point for me where it was kind of a pivot, because it's like, I didn't grow up with him in my life, but I know who he is. I've met him before, so forth, so on. And it's like, because we didn't have that kind of one-on-one talk or that relationship to have that one-on-one talk, it's like, well, did he, kind of evolve or devolve towards the person he became? Because he was looking at women a certain way, or he thought he could treat his relationship a certain way, or because he had certain resentment because of entitlement. I don't know, but I don't want that for me. You know what I'm saying? I think I have a really good woman. I think, this is somebody I could be happy with for the rest of my life. So before I mess around and just start because my attitude and the way I'm carrying myself or the things that I'm refusing to do, let me go ahead and save this shit before it sinks. So, but I realized it was me. Like as many things as, I might have didn't like that she did or said, I realized that I had to be fixed with me. So that was my turning point.
That's good. And I don't know if I had a point per se where I had my no turning back moment. I think mine was more gradual. I can think to a few times where I can think of one time where it literally just got old and I just got tired of sending good morning, beautiful texts. And entertaining people and, clearing out schedules and trying to coordinate schedules and things like that. And I got tired of that. I can think about when my first daughter was born and just being like, okay, now I got a daughter and I need to get my life together. And I slowed down then. I think most recently I can point to when COVID hit. I remember when COVID first hit, I went through a breakup right after COVID hit. But I just remember sitting home after that breakup and being like, this being alone thing ain't too fun. Legit, it was like, this ain't fun. I can't go around nobody. I'm home by myself. My kids were there, but you're talking at the time, a 3-year-old and my son is nonverbal. So I'm legit in the house with really nobody to talk to. It's it would be nice to have some companionship. And then on the flip side of that, most of my friends are married. Most of my closest friends are married. or in serious relationships, like long-term relationships. So like you kind of get to this point where early on some of the allure to womanizing is to bring those stories back and share stories with your boys. And you start to open up Facebook and your homies on marriage retreats and wedding marriage ministries, and you sitting there like, I was just, texting some girl a couple of nights ago trying to see if I could come her over. Like, what am I doing? Like, I mean, like, I want to be out there with my homies. Like, these are my brothers, you know what I'm saying? My close friends. I want to go on a marriage retreat too. Maybe you should get your act together, Maurice, and settle down. So I think that my turning point was a little more gradual. And I can't even say it was like this gradual. It's probably more like wiggly down. I think now at the point, like Adam hit it, I'm in a serious relationship. We're going on like a year and a half now. And even now, it's like I just don't want to. In a moment that I might think like, oh man, I remember the days when I was single and I could blah blah blah. I'd be like, but then what? Like this literally does nothing for me outside of like the couple of hours that she might physically be here. Is nothing over like having someone to talk to, having someone to be vulnerable with, having someone to kind of talk to. Like, right now I'm going through a situation with work right now, kind of having someone to lean through on these things. Last year I lost my mom, like literally sitting next to my lady at my mom's funeral. The morning of my mom's funeral, I woke up and said, I can't do this. She came and comforted me. None of them girls that you texting are saying going to be sitting next to you at a funeral. So like, what am I trying to get out of life now at 34, 35? Like, I'm not 21, 20, 19, 18, 17 no more. Like, I want something different in life now. Like, I like being home. I like being happy and being home. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if I had necessarily a turning point per se, but I definitely, it's just like as I grew and my focus has changed, my desire for companionship, it's also grown. Like when you're 16, 17, the boys is hooping till 1, 2 in the morning. You're going out to clubs till like 1, 2, 3 in the morning. Like you kind of like that flexibility to do that stuff. Now I'll be lucky if I'm up till 1, 2 in the morning. So as my personal needs have changed in life, my desire for companionship has also increased. And it also stops me in those moments in my relationship where I might be like, oh, well, she look good. Nah, not worth it. I got something great at home. It's not worth messing up for what? So.
Yeah. I think for me, it was gaining responsibility. And like the biggest responsibility I gained was having a son. And if I could point to anything that was actually a turning point, it would be that. But a lot like Maurice said, it was gradual up and down. It didn't all happen at once. But, as he started to grow and mature and, you realize that your child is imitating everything you do, watching your every footstep, mimicking every word, I start to be more careful about the way I moved, especially when it came to women and sex and things of that nature. So I always say, my child made me into a man. It was having that responsibility, having someone to take care of, and knowing that there was someone that's going to eventually walk in the footsteps that I leave, makes me start to want to change my ways and act a lot differently than before he got here. And I would say we was talking about like the time we spent and the energy we spent like chasing women. It was that moment, when I decided to change my ways, or that turning point is when I started to become a lot more productive in life. I've had moments in life where I would, take a vow of abstinence. Every time I did that, a book came out. In the past, every time I had that much focus, and I was just that laser focused on certain goals. So, yeah. So to answer the question I asked, it was the responsibility of becoming a father is what really changed my actions. So.
Yeah, parenthood definitely will get you, especially, like I said, I got 2 girls now. It's hard to be out here, wilding out when you got two little girls in the world. And I know they told me that when I only had my son, but like now it's like a father of two girls. It's like, whew, man, like I don't really want to go to jail. I did a good job of staying out of prison. I don't really want to go to jail for, having to fight somebody's son. And people shoot now. So
Yeah. And you want to be that example for your little girls too.
Huh?
And you want to be that example for your little girls as well.
I always say that they'll learn how to be treated based on what they see me do to women, very plainly. And if I'm out here wilding out, then they're gonna think it's okay for men to wild out with them. But if I can teach them, like, no, that's okay. No, don't do that. No, that's not okay. No, don't do that. Here's some things to expect. He's just running game. I think that's the best I can do is try to prepare them to the best of my ability. And I can't do that if I'm keep treating my bedroom like a turnstile revolving door.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up soon, but I got one last question. If you had 2 minutes to sit down with a young man, sit down with your son, your nephew, some little guy that you're coaching or you're mentoring, and you wanted to advise him as far as him controlling or managing his sexuality in relation to his success in life, what advice would you give him? What would you tell him about that?
I just think that a lot of what we've been saying this whole time, know your worth. I think one of the best things I've done in the past since COVID hit, honestly speaking, is just kind of learn my worth as well. I think oftentimes as men, we're just pursuing, and we're taught to be whatever, like what they say, happy wife, happy life. That's the saying that they say. So like you're taught, like just make her happy at the expense of your own happiness. There's a lot of miserable folks out here because all they do is give a lot of themselves to make their woman happy, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong. You should want to make your woman happy. But I also would like urge any young man, know your worth. Like there are some things that you don't have to tolerate. In your pursuit of a woman, there are some things that you don't have to tolerate, that you shouldn't tolerate. When you're in a relationship, there are some things that just flat out aren't okay. So understanding it, like you're also a catch, bro. You're also a king, bro. Like, yeah, I mean, like you, if she's not interested, her loss. Very plain, like the same way that like you hear like women who have been hurt talk about themselves when they bounce back. You gotta talk about yourself the same way, bro. Like I'm a king. I look good. I'm good enough. I bring something to the table. If not her, her loss. Like know your worth, man. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with pursuing, buying her nice things and things like that. But again, like you also have to factor in yourself. What makes you happy? You don't got to be yelled at. You shouldn't be cursed at. You shouldn't be hit. You shouldn't be treated like crap. You shouldn't do any of that stuff. So one big advice I would tell any young man is know your worth. And then also in knowing your worth, don't be so caught up on that next conquest that you forget your passion, your goal. Keep focused on your goals in the pursuit of that. And if you can do both, more power to you, do it. But realistically, a lot of us can't do both. They say two wolves fighting inside of you, the good and the bad. The one that's going to win is the one that you feed the most. So if you're feeding these women more than you're feeding the pursuit of your goals, like Adam has said, in his seasons of abstinence, books came out. Like I said, in my season of like being by myself, like a whole like organizational came out. Like, so like feed your passion and everything else will come, man. From some of the women I've talked to, some of the more attractive things they see is a man who knows what it wants. A man who does have a vision, a man who does have a focus, a man who's not all over them. Like they love that stuff too. Like, might they like when you buy them bags and take them on and stuff? Yeah, but they also love when you focus on your goals. They also love a man in a suit, a man who, is doing his thing. So know your worth, man, and feed your passions before you chase a woman. There's two big things I want to let every young man or even old man, because there's still some OGs out here that be wilding too. We want to keep it real. There's some OGs who still be wilding out here too. That's my advice for them.
That's fire. Shoot, made hard to follow up. I would definitely say, find your focus. And it's what I have told some guys. I actually had a conversation with a young guy last year, who was really interested in a girl. And I told him, like, listen, if you're lucky enough, if you're fortunate and blessed enough to find your purpose and your passion, because it's not even easy to do when you're young. You know what I'm saying? There's all these things that people tell you could be anything in the world you want to be. And it's like, honestly, you really can't. You could be the things that you're qualified to be, the things that you can learn how to be, and you could be the things that you're meant to be. But we get so many different pursuits or so many different things that we want to get into. So it's really easy to get distracted just by that alone before you add, chasing sex or women. So definitely focus. If you can find that passion, you can find that purpose, focus on that. As some people say, you will lose your money chasing a woman. You're gonna have harder time losing women chasing the money. You know what I'm saying? And it's not to say that you ignore a woman once you get her or anything like that. But if you're chasing your purpose, not even money, let's scratch the money thing. If you're chasing your purpose, women are going to come find you. They're going to end up in your way. You're going to have a bigger choice, a better choice, a better quality. It's not even about the quantity. You're going to have a better quality of selection of the type of women you want when you're focused on your purpose. Because as bro was saying about the things you don't have to accept.
that was my hallelujah hand.
Right. As bro was saying about the things that you don't have to accept, that no man should truly have to accept. But you feel like there's certain things. I'm sure there's plenty of men who felt like they had to accept certain things because they were dealing with a woman who was, quote unquote, out of their league or was bringing more to the table than they were. So they felt lucky to be with her, because of what she was bringing. But if you are chasing your purpose, you're bringing as much as you can possibly bring, then you don't have to worry about that, because no matter what she has, you're still on equal footing. At the very least, at worst, you're on equal footing. You know what I'm saying? So definitely pursue your passion, pursue your purpose. Women are not going anywhere. I promise you they're not.
Bro, yeah. When I started my brother, I had a girl cancel a business lunch we were supposed to have because I told her like I wasn't interested in dating her. She was like, "Oh, I thought it was like a date disguised as a one." I was like, "No, like I was like, I'm trying to make t-shirts. You make t-shirts. I'm trying to figure out a way how we could collaborate. That's all I want to talk about." And she's like, "Oh, no, I don't want to meet up no more." And it's like, okay, like you know what I mean? Yeah. So like, when you rocking in your purpose, man, it's very attractive. Like that's more attractive than the money, the chains, the car, the fancy sneakers. Like walking in your purpose.
Because it provides assurance. It provides a woman with assurance. Mm-hmm. What woman in the world? A woman needs assurance. Yeah, and a man walking and moving in his purpose automatically, before he promises her anything, just the way he carries himself assures her that if she gets in his mix, she'll be good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely tell a young man, put in the work on the front end so you can have fun on the back end. It's this whole instant gratification that gets us in trouble. Like we want it now, and we feel we got to get the girl now. We got to get the car now. We got to get all these things now. But it's going to take some discipline. It's going to take self-control. It's going to take a lot of focus. But if you can put aside some of that need to be gratified right now, especially when it comes to sex, and put that off, like you said, you'll be able to have sex with a more quality woman, and more so your wife, if you learn how to deny yourself some of those desires, some of those urges that we have, and refuse to gratify yourself like instantly. I think that's the issue that a lot of us have. We want that instant gratification, but if we're able to hold off and put in the work now so that we can enjoy life later, you'll reach that success that you're trying to get to.
But if you spend your time, your money, your energy chasing these things, these thrills right now, when you get older, you're gonna look back in your life and have a lot of regrets because time waits for no one. It waits for no one. Then you're gonna be playing catch up.
Right. I'll say this, man, like to any young man, like sex when you have a genuine connection with a woman versus when you just like trying to hit, like it's a different animal. Like it's a different breed. And like it's somebody that's 21 right now that's gonna watch this and they're gonna flag me up. I'm telling you, you have a genuine connection with a woman and you go into the bedroom versus like I just met her a couple weeks ago and I'm just trying to hit it. Like it's a different animal, man. And that's something that like I would urge any male to experience, man. Just building that genuine connection with someone and pursuing it that way, because as the young cat say, it hits differently.
It slaps. Connection sex slaps.
Like it hits completely differently than random one night stand or random fling sex. Like
so something you're gonna forget or regret as soon as you walk out the door.
Or even if you have fun, yeah, it's a memory, but that's all it is. It becomes a fleeting memory, like something maybe you can tell a story about, but it won't sustain you as that connection with that person will in that moment with that person. That'll sustain you.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. I don't think we have anything else to say. Your brothers done said a lot. Like my hope is that somebody's watching this, a younger man or even an older man, is either learning or looking in the mirror and say, hey, I need to change some of my ways, because it's not just young guys that's that been affected by this sexual miseducation. There's some guys in their 40s, their 50s, and they're still making the same decisions. They're still allowing one of the smallest organs of their bodies to have the most control over their life. So before we disconnect, where can people follow you? Where can people reach out to you if they're interested? Just
yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. My personal page is one, you can just add me on Facebook. My first name is Maurice, Maurice. You can see the last name on screen. I'm probably most active on Facebook. I'm always willing to chat with people, coaching sessions, conversations. Sometimes I'll just have people reach out to me because they just want to vent. So I'm always available to provide the listening ear. So just add me on Facebook, message me. You can also find me on Instagram. My Instagram name is @RushZilla. So like Godzilla, but instead of God Rush. Or you can look me up as My Brother Show on Instagram. Message either one of those pages. I also provide the same services there. Always willing to listen, chat, and make time for people. I talk to women too. Sometimes they want to ask me advice about their husbands, our boyfriends, our brothers, our cousins, our nephews, our friends. So I'm here.
You can find me on IG at Coach_Nire. That's NIRIE. I got the link in the bio to the podcast, whether it's the Two Kings or whether it's Life Be Life, and I got my Life Be Life shirt on, you know what I'm saying, right now. So, or you can find me on Facebook at Nire Charles, NIRIE once again. And same way, man, if it's something that, you need some game on, I do coach basketball. So even if you got somebody who wants to, further their, capabilities in the game, I love it. I'm with it. But just in case somebody just needs to talk about some things off, definitely hit me up, man. We could grow together.
You seen these upsets?
Yeah.
Been a couple of upsets. Been a couple of upsets.
Brackets already busted.
Already, first day.
No, I didn't even do one this year. I didn't do one last year either, but I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't do one, but I did one in my head. I just didn't write it down. So this is the sexual miseducation of Black men in America. My name is A.B. Bracewell. I have a book coming out this Saturday, March the 18th.
is going to be available on Amazon. It's going to be available on my website, readyforrelationship.com. That's the number 4. Or you can just hit me up, inbox me. I'll be more than happy to send you a signed copy of the book. The name of the book is The Sexual Miseducation of Black Men in America. If you're in Philadelphia, feel free to come down and celebrate with me. I'm having a book launch on 800 North Broad Street. 800 North Broad Street. So hit me up in my inbox, whether it's on Facebook under AB Bracewell, or hit me up on Instagram under Ready for Relationship. I see my brother got both my 2 previous books, and I got the 3rd one coming out. So I appreciate you, brothers. Appreciate your support, your love. I'll be seeing both of y'all on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Everybody else will be checking y'all out later. Have a good night.